shadow sibling, a term that is used to describe a sibling who is overshadowed by another sibling's achievements, talents, or successes. When you hear the name of Paul Pogba, Eden Hazard and Wayne Rooney, you remember players who carried their teams at times, played at the highest level of football, won World Cups, Champions League and Premier League trophies, etching their name into their club's history. But what's fascinating is that these footballers didn't grow up alone. All three players had a sibling growing up, younger or older, that also wanted to make it and play the beautiful game for a living. But to play at the highest level and do what these players did, even though they are sharing the same DNA, there came a time when one sibling outshone the other, achieving outstanding success that would cast a long shadow over their brother. And in football, especially at this stage, this shadow becomes even longer and darker, as all eyes are set on that sibling, watching their every move and most of the time celebrating him as he just won the league or tournament with his club, while the other sibling is barely noticed, being viewed by just a tiny margin compared to the other sibling. But now, with Jude Bellingham having signed for Dortmund, literally following his brother's footsteps, it's a rare time in football where I've seen two brothers play at that same elite level as each other. The only players that I can remember playing on this level together are duos such as Gary and Phil Neville, Yaya and Touré, and Kevin Prince and Jerome Boateng, which has been quite some time ago. But still, the syndrome of shadow sibling persists, as it did with these players that I just named, and it will most likely carry on in this case as well, as the issue may be more deep-rooted than you think. So, I'm here today to explain why I believe Jobe Bellingham will always be a shadow sibling, using the help of some psychological theories as well as some previous footballing examples. Let's take a look. Invented by Leon Festinger in 1954, his theory states that individuals determine their own social and personal worth based on their performance against others. But if this is put into context with a sibling, especially with a similar age, gender and interests, the comparison doesn't just become inevitable, it becomes internalized. And when someone close to you is always being celebrated, it can make you feel small, chipping away at your self-esteem, and in extreme cases, defining yourself by what you lack compared to your sibling, leading to identity diffusion, which basically means you struggle with your own self-cause. You're so focused on someone else's image. And on top of that, when that sibling has already achieved success, becoming the most expensive 17-year-old of all time or being signed for over 100 million by one of the most iconic clubs in the world, the bar is set. And it can become difficult to celebrate your own wins, as you've already seen what your sibling has done, who possesses the same genetics and has now lifted the most prestigious trophy in football and was named the Champions League Young Player of the Season on top of all that, and that at the age of just 20 years old. And now you might think, why didn't he just do what his brother did and he'll have the exact same success? Well, actually doing that could make things even worse. Some siblings feel like they have to copy the way that was taken before them to win the same praise and approval his sibling had achieved, even though it may not always be the right move to make, as many will still see you as the second version and not as someone original. This means that the bar is set again, especially with Jobe having just arrived in Dortmund looking almost exactly like a replica of his brother. These actions can also make you feel like an imposter, making you believe that you only got this position due to your family name, which can potentially spiral into bigger mental health issues, believing you're not worthy of anything at one point. And even if he's strong mentally and doesn't let the pressure get to him, as Shearer famously said, "Pressure? What pressure? Pressure is for tires." Replicating success can be one of the most difficult challenges of all, as success isn't just based on talent or effort. It depends on so many factors that are difficult to repeat. For example, timing, coaches, teammates, injuries, competitions, and even opportunities that take place for each player individually and are almost impossible to replicate. A great example for this is Cristiano Ronaldo. When Ronaldo played for a youth team, there was only one spot for a player to secure himself a position in the Sporting Lisbon Academy. Ronaldo and his friend Albert had the same amount of goals at the beginning of the match, so whoever would score the most goals would be selected. Then during the game, after both players scored a goal each, Albert went around the keeper and was alone in front of goal, but instead of slotting it home and securing his position, he played the ball to Ronaldo, who put the ball into the open net, securing a spot in the academy. And all these factors took place at once. The likelihood of the moment like this being replicated for Ronaldo's son is basically impossible. So if you take the moral of the story, it goes to show that there were so many unknown variables that contributed to Ronaldo's success, and in Jobe's case, for the pieces to fall into place just like they did for Jude, is almost impossible. And on top of that, an issue that is most likely to occur is that if you try to follow the exact same path as your successful brother took, people will compare you to their performance and their ability instead of seeing you as your own person, creating a struggle to see you for who you are. And even when you might be doing well, you will either be compared to your siblings' achievements or maybe even judged as not as good as your brother, especially in football, as there is a lot of nostalgia involved in such matters. Anyways, I hope that Jobe's talent can find its own path and not be framed as not quite Jude after a performance, and doesn't let his motivation and mental health get affected by the press or the fans. So I hope to see Jobe carve his own way, create a legacy separate from his brother's legacy, as true success does not come from imitation, but from becoming your own person on your own terms. But what do you think? Do you think Jobe will always be stuck in Jude's shadow and struggle to escape? Or do you think Jobe will excel and the comparisons to his brother will evaporate? I'd love to hear what you have to say and to have an open discussion in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this. See you in the next one. Bye.